Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. If you didn't see my last video, I highly recommend that you go check it out. It kind of explains a little bit more about what's going on with this channel and just a little life update from when I originally posted earlier this year. But to make this all make a little bit more sense, I am now a food and body image coach. Thank you, I know, big achievement. Again, my last video kind of explains how I got to here and how I became a coach just a little bit. I thought for my first video we'd start out with my full journey of my relationship with food and body image. I say full in quotes because I want to be as thorough as possible, but also short and to the point, or else we'd be here for like half an hour. And I don't want to take that long. Hi there, this is Editing Meg. I know that we literally just started the video, but I just want to say that I do understand that this video is long, but again, this is my full story as shortened as possible. So if you don't want to sit through this entire thing, I totally understand. If you want to get to the main parts of this story where the bulk of everything happens, I will leave all the timestamps down below in the description box. If you want to get to the main juicy part of the story, go ahead and skip to the high school portion or the college portion until the end and continue watching. And I don't think you want to sit through all of that either. So I'm going to do my best to go through specific points and stories that kind of culminate all to how I got to here today, if that makes sense. So overall, I have been struggling with disordered eating and body image for at least about 10 plus years now. For me, I would say it started back in middle school. In around 4th or 5th grade, I started to become really aware of my body and how I looked different than my classmates and my friends. They were all more on the smaller side. I've always been on the bigger side. And it was around that point where I started to really see like, oh, my body's different than everyone else's. But for those couple of years, that was pretty much it. Nothing crazy, but I just started to notice a lot of differences about my body compared to my friends' bodies. So about 6th grade, I started to like go through puberty and develop a lot more and a lot more quickly than all of my friends, and I was very self-conscious about my chest because I'm part of the big titty committee and that's just how it is. But of course at the time my body was way different still than my friends. Around that 4th and 5th grade time period, I was starting to become a little self-conscious of my stomach, but 6th grade I feel like is where it really started to like hit me, and I started to suck in constantly, and it just kind of became second nature at that point. Also at this point too, I started to really body check myself anytime I walked past a reflective surface where I could see my body. Even if it was just like my face, I would kind of body check and see that. But I always, like, if I was walking to the side, I'd always do like a little side profile thing. Like I just constantly was body checking myself in any given point that I could. So I've been writing in journals since I was in middle school until now. It's not every day, but it's pretty consistent, and during this time of quarantine and the pandemic, I was going through my room kind of trying to declutter and minimalize things, and I was actually rereading some of my journals. I was kind of just opening to random pages and kind of seeing what was happening. And it's just really weird how you can reread something that you wrote down, and at least for me, I feel like this is for a lot of people too, but for me, I was able to, go back and I could physically like feel myself in whatever room or area I was in when I was writing that, or what I was feeling, what I looked like. It's very strange. Anyway, I bring this up because I actually found in my very first journal ever, I found the first journal entry I ever wrote about me comparing myself to my friends and hating my body. And I remember exactly where we were, who I was with, and all of this, but that's how I can kind of have a start date as to where everything started because of that journal entry, but I kind of remember a little bit before that. Now going into junior high, which was 7th and 8th grade for me. I was still going to school with a lot of the same people. We all kind of moved up together. Some people left, but around this time not a lot, but a handful of people transferred to our school and to my class. And that's when I really started to compare myself to like the new girl, because she was tall, she was pretty, she was skinny. You get the point. And in junior high, at my school, we had a lot of overnight trips and like camping trips. So of course, like all the girls would stay together, all the guys would stay together. And I always remember kind of like secluding myself because I was always so self-conscious, even in my pajamas a lot of the time, because the school I went to, we had uniforms, and of course on these trips we could wear whatever we wanted. So especially like, yeah, wearing pajamas, I was like a little self-conscious. I was like, don't look at me, I don't want to be perceived type of mentality. And most of my life, and even going into junior high, I was a very picky eater. So I always was really self-conscious of eating in front of my friends at the time too, especially when we went on those overnight trips, because of course I couldn't control what I could eat really. So I had to have certain things, or I could only eat I only liked eating certain things. So that was also another thing about food. I was kind of always self-conscious around food at that time because of being a picky eater and only being able to like and eat certain food. Okay, now we get into summer before high school. So the summer before high school was definitely a huge turning point for me because I was excited to meet new friends, have like the high school experience and things like that. And my mentality was like, okay, I'm gonna meet new friends, I'm gonna have new classmates, new surroundings, new adventures, maybe some boys, maybe a boyfriend, that's the hope. And I just wanted to look and feel confident in my own body. So around this time, because of my older sister and also just from the times, I was reading a lot of 17 magazines and Cosmos, because I thought that was like the cool thing to do. I was like, oh, I gotta get the latest 17 magazine, even though there wasn't really anything in there. But I would read through those because they had a lot of like healthy recipes and like workouts you could do at home that were quick and easy, but were like guaranteed to lose fat and stuff like that and lose weight. And a lot of my favorite like celebrities at the time, some of them are still my favorites, but I was like super looking up to them at that time. They were always in those magazines and they always looked so good, and I was like, I want to look like them, and I just want to look basically like a skinny legend before I went into high school. And because I wanted to start having a little bit more control over my food, I started going grocery shopping with my mom, because usually she would just go pick out groceries and then come home, but I actually wanted to start going with her so I could pick out foods to eat, and that way I could start making my own meals and things like that. Of course, on the outside it looks very normal and healthy and actually I would say pretty good, but because my subconscious intentions behind this was to lose weight and have like this perfect ideal body that I had in my mind, it very quickly turned into a lot of guilt and shame behind food and all of that. So that's when that really started for me in the summer before high school, going into high school. Now, going into high school and orientation. My graduating class of 8th grade was, I think, about 23 people. The majority were girls. I think there was like 5 or 6 guys total in my class. And so going from that to now having a class of 500 plus people who I knew none of them, it was an absolutely terrifying experience for me, especially being an introverted, super shy, super socially awkward person. It just raised my anxiety to another level. So between orientation and the first few weeks of school, I was starting to notice a lot of like the popular girls and a lot of girls that were just friends from previous schools that went to this school. Like all of them kind of looked the same or talked the same, and they always wore makeup and did their hair pretty much every single day of school, which was honestly, that's mind-boggling to me, even to this day, because I can't even do that every day. Well, I was so intimidated by them constantly because I was like, I'm never gonna look like that. They are super confident in themselves, which if they were actually or not, who's to say, but they acted like they were very confident in themselves. And also they had the bodies that I wanted, like just this slim built type of figure, I guess. So between seeing that and then also really getting into theater at this point and working on my skill set, this is when I started to really equate my worth and value and success to my weight and my appearance. And also because of the girls I was going to school with, I was never really friends with them. I just kind of saw them in a lot of my classes, unfortunately. But because of seeing them, I was like, okay, if I lose the weight, if I do my hair and I do my makeup every single day, then I'll get a boyfriend. Like, that was my ultimate thing that I wanted in high school, was a boyfriend, which that's another story for another time. But this limiting belief that I had of equating my worth, value, success, and talent to my appearance and my weight, that was a limiting belief that I carried from the first time I had that thought, my freshman year, all the way to my senior year and till pretty much the present day, which we'll get into. But yeah, all throughout high school, I was constantly trying to find new recipes, whether it was through Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube when it was starting to get bigger, about like what I eat in a day videos and recipe videos and things like that. I was always trying to find different workouts to do at home where I could lose weight and things like that, because I wasn't really into sports all that much. My sister was, but I really wasn't. Some of my friends had like family gym memberships, so I would go with them sometimes if they invited me, but nothing really stuck, and it's because nothing really made me happy or excited to work out other than dancing. And kind of another little side tangent that kind of wraps all this up together is I was doing theater, like plays and acting, in junior high through a community center. And then high school, since we had a theater program, I went into theater there and I did my first musical ever my freshman year, and I absolutely loved it. And I loved like the dancing part of it specifically. And after I did my first musical, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I love singing, I love dancing, I love acting. I just love everything about it. And since I wanted to do more dancing, I was considering taking dance lessons and dance classes outside of school. But besides my own personal guilt about how much it costs on top of going to school and everything, I also kept telling myself this other limiting belief that because I didn't have like the dancer's body to begin with, that I was never going to be good enough, that I was not going to make it, and I was not talented enough to take those classes. But eventually I did start taking classes every now and then, and I'm not gonna lie, when I look back at those videos from like my first couple of dance classes, I fucking killed it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was like the best dancer out of all of them, and I'm not just saying that, like, you can kind of tell, it's pretty obvious. But I just had such a passion, or I have such a passion for it, that it just showed and it shined through. But because I was so fixated on my body and what it looked like, and it didn't look like the other girls that I was taking classes with and the normal ideal dancer body type, I always, basically I sold myself too short in the dance world. But that is another topic for another day that I will get into much deeper. Anyway, now we are moving to the summer before college. Now, I gotta say, this is probably the best summer of my entire life, by far. My best friend that I've known since kindergarten, and we went to school from kindergarten all the way to high school. We would hang out pretty much every single day, and a lot of the time we would go like get drive-through, we would hang out, laugh, do stupid stuff, you know, as high schoolers would do. And yeah, a lot of our hangouts just equated around food, which wasn't bad. And it was just some of the most fun I ever had. And the thing is that every time we hung out and ate food, I would enjoy myself in that moment, but as soon as I would kind of snap back into my own reality, and I guess diet culture just kind of like brought me out of that again, this is when I would start feeling guilt and shame for everything that I had just eaten, that I had just done, and I'd feel so bad about it that I was like, okay, I have to start eating healthy tomorrow. I need to go to the gym ASAP, 5 days a week, intense workout for an hour, the whole shebang. I feel like this was a huge part in my journey that really started to take a hold of my negative relationship with food and my body image as well. So, college. I went to a performing arts school in LA, like right in the heart of Hollywood. And I was super excited to go there. I was gonna meet new people who loved performing arts just as much as me. I was gonna meet, you know, so many different people from so many different backgrounds. I was in a new city and I was on my own and I was so excited. But the one thing that really was a big shock was actually a culture shock of being in LA. Because like, of course you hear about it and like it's models and actors and actresses and everyone has to have the look. And even though at the time when I first started going there, like it started to change and evolve to kind of what it is now, and hopefully it keeps changing. But being right in the heart of everything, where everything is about your looks and some of your talent, but mainly if you have the look or not, I feel like LA is like the hub of diet culture, in my opinion, especially being there for a couple of years for school. And it was just very, not toxic, but it's just a very negative space for where I already was before going into college. It just started to fuel that even more and build that negative self-talk and just everything that diet culture had already started, and just blew it up even more. And so I spent a lot of my college career doubting myself, doubting my worth, my value, my success, my talent, because surprise, surprise, I was still focusing 100% on what my body looked like and just overall my appearance. I was consistently comparing myself to my friends and my classmates because of their talent and what they looked like. And because of all of this culmination of doubt and comparison, I never went after the things I really wanted to do. Like, I wanted to start some clubs, I wanted to write some music, I just wanted to create so much outside of my classes and even within my classes. I never allowed myself to experience and experiment in my classes because I was so afraid of judgment, and not just the judgment of like my talent or whatever. Like, I wasn't even worried about that. I was mainly worried that someone was going to judge me because of my body, that someone was going to call me out and laugh at me because of my body, which no one ever did. But I was so just fixated on that happening that I never did anything. I never went out of my comfort zone. I never went for anything that I really wanted to do. And because of all of these things, I feel like I truly wasted my college experience in that aspect. Of course, I gained so many great friends and relationships and experiences, but because I wasn't able to allow myself to put in the work that I wanted to, I feel like I wasted it. And I don't really believe in regretting anything, but if someone did ask me if I could go back and do something over again, that would be the one thing, because I spent so much money and I'm gonna continue to pay so much money for the rest of my life because of student loans, and I didn't fully get to have my experience there. Now we are getting into some much more recent stuff. So about my last full year of being in college, I met someone. I was going to a ballroom dance studio outside of school, like after classes and everything, because that was my true passion at the end of the day, was ballroom dancing. And my school didn't have many classes, or any classes, especially as a musical theater student, to do that. So I was going to another studio, and this is where I met him, and we were in a relationship for about 2.5 years, and it was extremely not good for me. And that, I'm not gonna get too far into it. That relationship was what really fueled my disordered eating to the max. Again, I won't go into too many details about our relationship and everything, but the one thing when we first met is that, of course, how I told everyone else in my life and told myself many, many times, I was like, I want to lose weight. That is my goal. I want to lose X amount of pounds. I want to get to my goal weight of whatever it was at the time. And he was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I've been feeling a little bit lazy and put on some weight too, so let's keep each other accountable. I was like, awesome. I get to have a boyfriend who gets to keep each other accountable, and we're gonna be that cute, healthy, fit couple and whatever. But little did I know how far of an extreme he took it to, or I should say how far of an extreme he would take it to. In our relationship, he would be like, he asked me if it was okay if he would ask me like what I would eat in a day, like after our day, like because we were both going to school, 2 separate schools, and after our days, like we would call each other, or I would go over to his place and he would ask me like, oh, what did you eat? And I was being completely honest with him, but at some points he would get mad, like I was throwing myself off, or I was not staying on track and things like that. So after a while, because I didn't want to have to add another argument or tiff to whatever was going on, I just started lying to him, because I was like, I don't want to get in another argument and him being upset about what I was eating and putting into my body. Wow. Also, I would spend the night at his place a lot, and because of how much he didn't eat as a person, in turn made me not eat much as a person. And I would end up going home a lot of the time and like just binging on so much food because of how hungry I was. Like, I didn't even care if it was healthy or not at that point. I was just binging whatever I could, and I had my dorm at the time. Because of all of this fueled me to get to a point of having orthorexia, and I don't even know when exactly it started, but it was the biggest part of my life for a long time. I had very extreme thoughts through orthorexia, and it was just a lot. So I will say probably in like early to mid 2019, I was the smallest I had ever been in my adult body, and I still felt like I needed to lose another 10 to 20 pounds to get to my goal weight, which was a number on the scale. But because my body wasn't able to get there, it was just not physically possible. And because I was so fixated on losing like 10 to 20 more pounds, even though I was at the smallest my body has ever been in my adult life, I felt like I hadn't made any progress, and everything I had done was a waste. And I just felt so bad because I felt like I failed. And in the grand scheme of things, I had lost a lot of weight. Like, whether it was healthy or not, I'm not sure, but I had lost a lot of weight compared to where I was at to then. And because, of course, that still wasn't good enough for him, which in turn wasn't good enough for me. So overall, I was chronic dieting and in this cycle of the diet starts tomorrow or starts Monday mentality, stay on track for a couple of days and feel really good about myself, and then mess up a tiny little bit, then shame and guilt myself, and then just say fuck it and binge on everything else, then shame and guilt myself again because of everything I had just binged, and then go back to the mentality of diet starts tomorrow. So I did that for at least a solid 8 to 9 years. And it just got a lot worse in the latter part of my life. And again, I feel like the bulk of it was like 2015 to about 2019, early 2020. Yeah. And now here we are. I've learned so many tools and practices for healing my own relationship with food and having a better body image. And I can honestly say I have never been this relaxed around food, like ever. Probably. Like I have never been this like chill about what I eat and how my body looks. Yeah, like ever. And this is exactly why I wanted to be a coach, because of everything I just explained, plus wanting to be this relaxed and stress-free about what I'm eating and what I'm putting into my body. So if you ever are interested in working with me one-on-one, you can head to my website for more information or send me a DM on Instagram. Of course, I'll leave all the links where you can find me down below. And of course, you can always leave a comment, or if you want to be a little bit more private and talk about something, you can always either send me an email, which I'll leave down below, or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm very active over there, so go ahead and follow me, send me a DM, and we can chat. Thank you so much for watching. I hope all of this made sense. I tried to make it as cohesive as possible while also including the most important parts. But yeah, if you have any recommendations of things that you would like to see from me, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Subscribe, stick around if you want to help take diet culture once and for all. Let's do this together. Bye guys.